Hello and welcome to the Morningscape podcast. I am your host, DJ Mitchell, here with Matt Moody to go over Thursday's 9-game slate, half the contest size. I guess football, whatever, who cares? But we're back. Let's do this. Matt, anything to kick off the show?
I'm not a professional streamer. I think the people know that we are not professional streamers, but it just occurred to me why people have intro videos. Because we go live and then people who join, they have to like watch an ad or whatever. Usually or whatever. And so they do the intro video so that when it comes back, everyone's like ready to go and taking off. And it's not just like a look what this thing I made. I'm just gonna play it because I spent time on it. So therefore, you need to watch 30 seconds of the same thing you see every week. Not saying we're gonna do anything like that because that requires work and effort, but now I understand why people have intro videos. And now that I vamped for a minute, we do have 3 people in here, so kudos to the folks who are hanging out, waiting for us to go live a little bit later than usual, but we're here and we are ready to go over the 9-game Thursday slate.
Yeah, no, a lot of things that make sense and would be good. Again, like it's one of those things where it's like I should name every one of these streams like GPP guaranteed winner NHL DFS for Thursday, but like I'm never gonna do that garbage, Like I'm not gonna tube buddy the names and do all the stuff and try to beat the algorithm. Like I don't know. I just don't care enough to try to play that game, and it is what it is, and we're just gonna keep doing what we do, and I'm fine with that. But the video I would actually like to do. I actually think like I want to try to do that as a project at some point. Yeah, why don't we kick it off with a couple topics? We got a question here, and I know it. A lot of people listening would at least like 1 minute of my rant about the Sabres. So,
okay, well, we do need to put that to the people though, because the moments, the things that actually go into said video, we're gonna need some collective, what's the opposite of amnesia, to sort of get us, get us started in that endeavor. So if you have anything in the back of your mind, let DJ know. He's apparently volunteered for the role.
I can't remember what's the opposite of amnesia is. Anyways, I also wish I couldn't remember or got amnesia after the Sabres game on Tuesday night. It's one of those things where like you go to a game for free, little invite from a company, whatever, who cares about my day job? And they're like, they're paying for everything, go up for appetizers and beers at the game. And I'm sitting there just like, and the guy that did it was from Colorado, Avalanche fan, really nice guy. I'm just like, yeah, like crazy game, starts up, Sabres start to get the lead. And I'm just being like, oh, well, Sabres always, they blow these games. I bet the Avalanche will get back into it. Just trying to be, what do you say, right? Yeah, I did not know this guy before we went to the game. And you can't just be like, haha, sucker, like Sabres, we're back, just chilling out. But then like when it started to fall apart, I mean, really, the second period, you could have just skipped, like nothing happened. And I was like, okay, the Sabres actually can shut down a game and just finish it. The third period, when it started to happen, I just really started to feel like I was going to have like a panic attack. I was like, I couldn't express how I was feeling at all. I had to be so normal. And then I got into my car and I was just like yelled. And then I called Matt and was like, did that just happen? Like that actually happened, right? Like I was there and I was watching it. I hate the Sabres so much. I hate him with such a large passion that it actually, like, I'm actually considering, like, I can't do it, Nick. I just can't continue to do it. Like, I'm not turning on the games anymore. I'm just gonna watch other teams and like enjoy hockey again because, like, I'm done. I just can't. Like, I'm still a fan. Like, I'm still gonna go to games once in a, but like, I can't do this every night. I can't continue to let them control my emotion like they do. Matt, I think you've separated a lot of that out yourself, and you've been better about like, hey, the Sabres lost again. You're like, who cares? Whatever, they're bad.
Well, I also don't understand the freak out over this game. Like it was the least deserved 4-0 lead of all time, and the Colorado Avalanche are basically back at full health. They're obviously they're an A-tier team in the league, and you lose 5-4. Like yeah, McKinnon's gonna McKinnon sometimes. He gets 45 DraftKings points. He owns that game. He's shooting again. obviously scores, Lehkonen tips a puck in, like, yeah, it'd be nice to hold on to a 4-0 lead, but like this is the NHL. It's not, like you can't park the bus and just play keep away for 40 minutes. And like Colorado's good at Colorado sometimes. Wedgwood played a great game when he came in. It's not like the Sabres stopped getting chances. They just, there was an even fight and it was 5-4. Like at the end of the day, they're still, obviously it's a bit bigger of a hill to climb, but like they're still right in the thick of things. They're playing pretty well against decent teams. Like, I just don't really understand how this was the straw that broke the camel's back after fucking 13 years of just absolute nonsense after nonsense. Even Darlene got hurt during the game. Like, come on, like, what are we supposed to do? Like, his back tightens up and you're left with Connor Clifton chasing around McKinnon. Like, yeah, that's not going to go well. Like, is that the team's fault for being gutless? Like, I don't think so. So I don't know. It was a frustrating game, of course.
It's the Sabres. At the end of the day, like that's the biggest problem here. And like the entire media, like again, no one's going to react rationally. I understand the rational view of it. Like you're saying, it's more of like, how does this team do it every time? Like how is it always the butt end of the joke becomes funnier and more of a joke every year, no matter what? And like even when they seem competent and actually like have a team that can play and a structure around it, they still are the butt end of the joke every year. And it's just like it just doesn't, like, it just feels like at some point
guess what? That was the Capitals. Like, I mean, like teams, like who the fuck cares what people are saying? Like, the Caps never win. Sometimes you're San Jose and you never do win. Sometimes you're the Capitals and you do win. Like, it's just like, yeah, what people say, like it's nonsense, but it's always going to be nonsense. So, I don't know, like, frustrating game, but like for sure not like this mark of an era or whatever that like it's being treated as. Anyway, no one really cares about the Sabres. I think people care mostly about the four nations.
Yeah, let's talk about the Four Nations. Everyone was asking in the chat. If you're wondering, like, how do I join this lovely chat? We normally record around 9 p.m. Eastern time. And on YouTube, we have some people asking about the Four Nations. We could probably just do like the quickest recap of each team. Everyone's going to do a million articles and a million pieces. And if you want to find an answer, you want to find it, someone has it out there for you. We'll give a quick take. Finland, we'll start there because it'll be the fastest. I don't really see any issue. Vincelli and Tolvanen are left off for some, I would argue, less desirable players in general from a fun perspective. But how is Finland going to win? I don't have any argument. Like, they're going to win because they find a way to shut down teams with players that can shut down players. I don't.
But I don't give a crap about Joel Armia or Eli Tolvanen. Yeah. So I'm good to move on when you're ready.
Yeah.
By the way, Matthew scored.
Oh, hey, woo! He wins a bet, everybody. He wins a bet. Oh my! I just checked like 2 seconds ago. It's still not updating on my phone. He wins a bet live for the first time ever, I think, since we both this year. I don't think doesn't matter. I've hit bets, just something like this. Live, thank you. Let's get back. So Finland, we're good. Nothing there. Sweden, we both have one qualm or quarrel. Maybe something else. So I will let you start while I make some tweets.
Do I? You want to tweet about Austin Matthews scoring?
Yeah, I'm going to make a tweet about that. Eklund, I think we both agreed, like, should be on the Swedish roster.
I think he's more deserving than Leo Carlson. I believe that's my take. I think I found it surprising that Raquel didn't make the team. But I also understand the idea of bringing on Leo Carlson. I personally think that Canada should have at least considered Connor Bedard. I'm sure they did. He just wasn't playing well enough to really, make the plunge there. But like, I totally get that, but Eklund certainly has played his way onto this roster, and he's probably the first guy called up, to be honest, when injuries strike and whatnot. I feel like there was something defensively I cared about, but honestly, I don't care about it anymore because now that the lights are on, I'm ready to go about this slate. So not gonna talk too much about the Swedish defensemen. Beautiful men that are there.
Yeah. I think the argument would be like, Forsling, Ekholm, Brodin, like those three, if you can make a case for any of them being in or out. With others, I'm a big Brodin believer that makes a lot of sense to have him. I should be healthy. He's week to week, but it sounds, closer to a week or just over a week that he'll be back. So I don't think there's much of a concern there. Forsling might be the question, but again, you kind of need those defensemen. No problems. goalies as expected. And then I honestly, my opinion would be like, I think Nyquist is pretty meh compared to Eklund, but I get what they're doing there. It's just like Arvidsson was the one most people brought up as well as like, what does he give you that Eklund doesn't?
Mhm.
I think it's probably the swap, and I'm a big believer in his
Yeah.
game, but he's been bad.
Yeah,
Um,
I've never in the last few years, I've not been an Arvidsson guy, but, like, I also understand why veterans, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I think Raquel was a better choice than Arvidsson, though, and they seem very
yeah,
similar to me. So,
I would take Raquel over Arvidsson, I think. I mean, again, like there's a couple of these that are like fringy. I just feel like if you're looking at the future of Swedish hockey, the next year's Olympics, Eklund feels like a guy you want to get acclimated into playing with some of these guys. He doesn't play around the most talent. He's got more now with Celebrini, but just to me, it just kind of is like, why not? Like I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really matter. What are we thinking? USA or Canada? What do you want to do next?
let's do the US next. I believe they're still second in the betting odds. So, yeah,
Yeah,
no Tage. Actually, do you have the rosters up? Because I'm sure people
I do.
aren't looking
Um,
at the teams.
yeah. I mean, but the first two, look them up on your own. It doesn't really matter. Boldly, Jack Hughes, Connor, Brady, Matt the Chuck, Matthews, Eichel. I think those were all the absolute kind of unequivocal. Those were going to probably be on there. Boldly, I guess, was a bit of a question mark, but I felt pretty confident he'd make it. And then the more of your questionables, if you believe in it, but Gensel, I think that was also very likely to happen. Brock Nelson, Kreider, I think I said Larkin, but maybe not. And Vinny Trocheck and JT Miller, of course, JT Miller, barring him being back, but I assume he'll be back before that. So JT Miller would probably throw in the likely to be in Larkin, but the Kreider, Trocheck, Brock Nelson, those were three that kind of felt like like could have been other guys. On defense, Faber, Fox, Hughes, McAvoy, Slavin, Borensky felt lockish to me. Hannafin felt like I mean, not a major stretch. Just I didn't think that was going to be the last guy in, but doesn't matter that much. And then the goalies were as expected: Hellebuck, Ottinger, and Swayman. So Matt, I'll let you take first crack at it.
Yeah, defense. I don't really think. I don't really think it matters that much for
No,
the U.S. Like that seventh guy, I think was the only question mark, and whether it was Hannafin or Sanderson. I'm blanking. Was John Carlson not on it? Right?
nope, no John
Yeah.
Carlson. That was
Whether it was
one of
any of those
the
three, I
bigger,
think
I would
would have
say.
been.
Yeah,
I certainly would have gone Sanderson or Carlson over Hannafin.
yep,
But like at the end of the day, that's not why this team, is going to win or lose. I think the more troubling
no,
aspect is bringing Chris Kreider over Tage and Caulfield. Like I don't know. I don't know what the scouts are seeing, in their games that are like, yeah, these guys that are scoring the hell out of the puck, and I tweeted about this. So I'm sure this is just reusing my material, but like it's not even like these guys, Caulfield and Tage are scoring unsustainably well on the power play. Where look, I'm not going to sit and argue that Tage Thompson should be on the power play over Jack Eichel. Like that's just silly. But Tage Thompson leads the NHL in 5-on-5 goals this year.
yep,
Whether it's sustainable or not, he's still producing this year at 5-on-5, the best of anyone in the NHL. And then, Cole Caulfield, I think, has 9 5-on-5 goals. He was leading the league as of a couple weeks ago in 5-on-5 goal scoring. Why not bring more goal scorers? It turns out winning is good and is caused by goals. And
yeah,
you have your Nelsons, you have your Matthews, like these guys can play defense. Like you don't need Tage to kill penalties for you in a fourth line role. So I don't know that's my main
yeah.
problem with the team.
Um,
But yeah.
Honestly, and this is probably again, I play at the lowest possible level at 30 years old. You could possibly, I'm paying. I'm not trying to make an argument that I know better than these guys. My argument is it almost feels like you're overcomplicating things by saying like we need to get a guy like Chris Kreider or Vinny Trocheck, like an older guy that like played defense when number one that's not their role on the Rangers. Instead of picking more of these explosive offensive talents who control the puck better, have in at least the case of Tage Thompson, I think played much better defensively, it's like you're taking away an ultra like the better player in totality. And in a tournament like this, for such like few games where you may not see the dividends being paid off in like these defensive metrics, like I think you just want to get more chances. Like I just don't understand. Again, it feels like you're outsmarting yourself, and in reality, what I think it truly is just internal politics. Like some owners, like Jeff Gordon, is it Gordon or Gordon, whatever his name is, probably
James
just have more
Dolan?
pull than others. And James, oh my God, it's James Dolan. Gordon was the old GM, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, James Dolan owns it. I'm mixing them up. I knew what I was saying it too. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. I think that they just have more, they have some say in this, and they have pull. Maybe it is some GMs that have some pull, and like, there's probably a Rangers quota that had to be hit, and unfortunately, Jasturkian wasn't going to make it. Canada didn't really have room for any. The Banijed gets in, but like, I think that honestly, in my opinion, it has to be the case. Like, no, like, I don't know what argument you make to put Vinny Trocheck in over Tage Thompson. The Cole Caulfield argued defensive metrics so you're blue in the face. Again, I would never take probably at least 3 guys over Cole Caulfield, but I look at this from a DFS perspective more than anything else. So yeah, Trocheck and Kreider, though, if you replace those with Tage and Caulfield, I think you have a much better team, but alas. Defense, I agree. I would have absolutely taken John Carlson over Noah Hannafin, but that's kind of your last man in. Who cares? Goaltending, yeah, that's the right call. We'll get to Canada. And we'll keep it moving here. Only got 9 games, so we'll only be like an hour and a half. Who cares? Canada.
We've never struggled this time before on short slates.
We'll be good. I'm positive. Canada, I'll try to again go with the obvious guys at first. And guys that we already knew. We knew McDavid, Point, McKinnon, Marchand. We're all and Crosby. I believe for forwards, we're automatically everyone knew they were on there. No surprise that we get Mitchell Marner. Other than Reinhardt, I think as well was kind of a no surprise. The surprises are kind of the beginning of the questionables, if you will, were Sam Bennett, Seth Jarvis, Mark Stone, Anthony Cirelli, Brandon Hagel, and Travis Konechny were kind of your questionables. I was a big proponent of Travis Konechny. I would have definitely kind of, flag planted that one myself as a guy that I've loved for a long time. He's one of the best penalty killers in the league, can produce offensively at 5-on-5 and on the power play if needed on the second unit. Mark Stone, if healthy, I get the call there for sure. Seth Jarvis, I'm also a very big fan of, but Bennett, Hagel, Cirelli, I could have gone maybe here or there on. Probably Hagel, who I have right here behind me. I do like that call. The other two kind of feel to me, I don't know, but I'll let you take the reins here.
Yeah,
on the forwards.
I was a little surprised Parayko made it over like a Drew Doughty type that they could just replace with a Colton Parayko in 2 months if they wanted to. I feel like
I
Drew
didn't say
Doughty was
defense
clear.
yet, but sure.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. I actually just learned when you were saying that Seth Jarvis made the team, so I've not spent much time looking at Team Canada's roster, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Forwards,
defense, by the way, Makar. Yeah, we can do forwards. But the notable misses here are, as mentioned already in the chat as well, Mark Scheifele, Connor Bedard, Zach Hyman, John Tavares are probably the main 4 that I had down here as like the misses that many will be talking about. Bedard's been bad this year. I still think I try to get him in here, especially for the future of Canadian hockey. But, again, not up to me. I also, I just don't like, again, I take Scheifele over Cirelli. I get it. Cirelli's been great defensively, and it's John Cooper coaching this team, and he wants to bring his guy. I'm not going to get into like a major argument, but yeah, that was surprising. You also get the Tom Wilson. I mean, that was Elliot Friedman for me. Like, he was going to the table saying like, they're going to take Tom Wilson. And I was like, not my call. I wouldn't, but if Elliot says it, like, that must be a thing, right? So I would have just included him on my roster if I, was making a prediction just because of that. But I think overall it's good. It's fine. I don't know if there's anything again, I'm not going to like war over any of these guys left off and put on there, but I'm sort of just like, I probably throw in Mark Scheifele for the year he's having.
Yeah, Bennett makes no sense to me. I don't know. I don't really like. It's not like they need centers. They have McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon. Even if you put Crosby and McKinnon together, you still have Cirelli and Point that can play center. So like, what do you need Sam Bennett for? I don't know. So interested to see if he plays, where he plays, who he plays with. But yeah, I don't know. It's Canada. They have, Connor McMichael. Should he be on
Yeah,
the team? Like, yeah, I mean, obviously no, but like, you could tell me that Finland is sitting there like, damn, I wish we had a Connor McMichael we could invite.
I know.
And like, so there's really nothing to do with like, oh, how well are they playing this year, because that's, clearly not what's going on here. So,
Yeah. No Evan Bouchard, no
yeah,
Noah
the
Dobson.
the defense is just, I mean,
Yeah, that's where I get
I
a
don't know
little.
how you show up to this tournament with Devontae's and go, "Yep, that's one of our dudes." Like at some point, we need to realize who's driving the bus in Colorado, and it's not Devon fucking Days.
Yeah,
Um, Colton Parayko, I don't get it. He kind of sucks. He definitely sucks.
yeah,
But like, if you're looking for someone of that mold, like I don't know, Drew Doughty. Like he was playing
yeah,
awesome when he got hurt. He's gonna be back next month apparently. So unless we don't know like what his status is, or if you straight up said I don't want to go, name him to the roster and then say, hey, people who didn't make this team, the Evan Bouchards, the Noah Dobsons, the Parekos, if Drew Doughty is hurt, you're next up. So get your ass in gear and like actually start playing well, because we're gonna need to call someone in. Um, I
yeah.
don't know. I don't really understand it. It seems unnecessary to lock it in at this point. But like, yeah, I guess if they're being forced to, why pick Pareko? No idea.
Then the goalies that were left off, Talbot, Logan Thompson was one that I was a bit not shocked, I guess, but again, I thought with the year he was having, Talbot was leading Canadian goalies in save percentage and kind of keeping Detroit from drowning completely. I thought, and just a mistake I kind of had. And then Fleury was the only other one that people really mentioned seriously as like, do they throw a bone?
Skinner, right? Stu Skinner.
And oh yeah, it's Stu Skinner. And Stu Skinner, he's
Yeah,
just kind of a
I
five-year-old.
thought he would
So
be their
it's
starter, to be honest. So I'm a little surprised by that.
Binnington, Aiden Hill, I sort of pegged as locks, and then Sam Montembeault over that list. I'm a bit surprised. And really, Stu Skinner, it would make sense with any of those guys. But this kind of feels like I really don't know. Again, like every one of these arguments, there's a little bit to it. Goaltending, I'm certainly not going to argue about the last goalie in. I don't think there was any doubt that Binnington and Aiden Hill were going to be there, in my opinion, just based on I don't know. I guess perception, and maybe just
Stanley Cups. Yeah,
Stanley
like
Cup. Yeah,
that's it.
again,
Yeah.
like it's. I don't know if it's like I don't even think they're the best goalies. I just think that like that was like just clearly the way it was going to go. But yeah, a few snubs I didn't like. Overall, I am really excited about the tournament. I was listening to a Puck Soup. I'm sure Matt listened as well, and they were talking, and like Don Goes Brown made the perfect point of like, we've been begging for best on best hockey. I have probably been one of the most active cheerleaders for it. The NHL is the worst run league in the world because they just haven't captured this. Like basketball actually gets a ton of publicity and people surrounding the Olympics for what is essentially a USA, they win or it's a disaster. And hockey actually has compelling storylines and more compelling now than ever with USA actually coming to the forefront. So whether you might be thinking who really cares, the Olympics is next year or not, I actually think this is going to be awesome. I think it's going to get a little bit of buzz. People care about this stuff and it's a good story. Like whether you're in, Florida, whether you're in California, whether you're a fan of any team, we can all come together and hate Canada together. And like, that's the best. And for Canadians, you can all come together and hate America. And if it's not either of those teams, it's going to be a shock and it's going to be awesome to watch. And like, I love that kind of feeling here. Will I get to a game in Boston? Probably not, honestly. Just a lot going on, but I might try.
Yeah. My condolences to the players who have to forego their beach vacation to go play a couple games in Montreal or Boston or whatever. I'm
Some
certainly
of
on the
them,
other.
yeah.
I would much rather this not be happening, because we're losing our NBA All-Star break DFS stuff. We're just, it's going to screw up the schedule in a big way. Even like the best puck schedule is kind of going to get fucked by it. There's a lot
I
of
think it's
downstream
the game.
impacts on my experience with the NHL, that like unless DK is going to say, hey, showdown slates for the World Cup of Hockey, whatever the fuck it's called.
It's the
It's not happening. Like that's not happening. So it'll just kind of be like a wasted 12 days where we're just like, huh, should I drive across the border to New Jersey so I can play some college basketball DFS? Like, I don't know. That's sort of what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, I definitely, I think from like a strictly DFS perspective, it's worse. But I think for the growth of the game, I mean, really, in reality, the problem with growing daily fantasy hockey on a year-to-year basis is people do not care until the playoffs. And that's never going to bring people into a more, nuanced space like daily fantasy. So this has to happen, in my opinion, to grow the game. The fact they have not had a tournament in many years is a disaster. Let's get into a battle between the worst team in the NHL and the best team in the NHL. We have Winnipeg at Buffalo up first. If you're prepared to discuss what's going to make me want to throw my computer into Niagara Falls tomorrow. It's a 5.5 total. One of our lowest. I believe it is the lowest. No, there's one game that's lower. Not surprising, actually. Totals on the slate. It is a game, again, that is in Buffalo. It is the Winnipeg Jets. It is pain. It is suffering. It is awful. I don't want to, cross a game out. I did play Tage Thompson to success. I mean, he did smash, although my lineup was absolute dog water. I said that, Tage Thompson is a guy that can get there. I think one of my biggest mistakes was not just jamming Zucker, who only with 8 points really didn't get there, but I think that was a necessity. On the Buffalo side, it feels easy. On the Winnipeg side, I don't know how you could really squint and find the way to play it. The lines got pretty messed up by Nikolai Ehlers going on IR. This game just feels to me like you just don't have to. And if you want to,
I mean, I would kind of like to set the stage here on the slate because once again, we're looking at a very low event slate. Like, I think this is just a league wide thing at this point. Like, the pace is just going down at 5-on-5, both expected goals, actual goals, and Corsi's. Obviously, the actual goals will be a bit more volatile because those are a bit more random and due to chance. But it's pretty clear that pace is down across the NHL. So we're looking at the index chart, and literally 2 teams have a positive index: Montreal, Colorado. Buffalo's third. So in terms of the expected goals and the way that these teams are trending, this matchup looks fine relative to the rest of the slate, especially for the Sabres. I think on the Winnipeg side, though, obviously starting with the road side, the main issue I have is that they lost to the Blues at home. They did not practice on Wednesday, so we don't know if these lines will hold. But I'm pretty interested in Brad Lambert at 3K. He came in, immediately played a power play role and 16 minutes in his NHL debut. I think there's a real chance that Nemestikov plays with Scheifele in this game. Gabe Vilardi was taking faceoffs, and so there was like a beat. Basically, we're pretty sure that Scheifele's wrist is doomed. Whether that repairs itself over the next couple months, I don't know, but that's never a good thing for DFS when a player's wrist is shot. See Austin Matthews last year. And so Brad Lambert without Ehlers, who is confirmed out for this game, he's on IR. He can only be activated on Friday or later. Brad Lambert steps right into this power play job. He has Cole Perfetti likely to be his line mate, 3,200. Perfetti's the guy who gets the power play 1 role as a result of this. So those 2 guys will cost you 6,200. The matchup is not imposing, of course, against the Sabres. And they're 2 really talented players. I mean, they're both former first rounders. They've both showed out well in the AHL. Perfetti's obviously been in the NHL for a little bit, so we also have some track record of him being a good NHL player. And again, they're super talented, they're super cheap, and they should play together. I don't really think it matters whether it's Nemestikov or Vilardi with them, but if it's Vilardi, I mean, add him at 4,400, and he's an actual player too. So I'm pretty interested in that. I can't say I want to spend up on Kyle Connor. Obviously, don't want to play Mark Scheifele with his injury situation. On the Buffalo side, I think it's mostly just Tage Zucker for me. Dahlin is a question mark. I think he's going to be out. It was back spasms for him. But of course, we'll also need to see what happens to the Sabres lines as a result of blowing that third period lead, as discussed earlier.
Yeah, I'll add one more note on this game. It's, Winnipeg lost 4-1 in their first game without Ehlers and the new lines. Don't think we saw anything in practice. They only have 1.7 expected goals in a game they were, I believe, trailing pretty much right off the jump. Right?
They've been without Ehlers for
the last game.
Games.
I'm just saying the last game. Yeah, it was like 3 games, but I think the last game without Ehlers, and I believe these were new lines, were they not? Or are these the same lines they ran before? I thought they had Velarde with Scheifele and Connor still, and then they went to Nemestikov last game, and I'm just saying that might not
they
stick.
They had Nemestikov up there for the weekend.
Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying they lost pretty handily and played pretty poorly at home against St. Louis, and it doesn't matter. I'm not playing this game. Good luck to everyone else.
Okay, well, without Dahlin, it seems like Bo Byram's going to be power play 1. They're going to leave Owen Power on power play 2. That's just how they did the empty net situation at the end of last game. Obviously not confirmed on that, but it did look like it was Byram with Zucker, Thompson, Peterka, Cousins, and I think Tuck was the 6th man with the empty net. So Bo Byram, 3,300 with no Dahlin would also be a valuable punt from this game. Heading over to Nashville and Montreal. I showcased earlier before the Monday games are taken into account. Now, obviously, it does look like Nashville is losing to Toronto. I don't know how the expected goals will look, but Montreal does show as the best team on the slate just because Nashville's a bit below average defensively and Montreal's been fine offensively. And it apparently right now that's good enough to be at the top of the list. Nashville on a back-to-back. Not expecting changes to these lines, but obviously keep an eye out. Any interest in Nashville here, or are you looking at the home Canadians?
We'll start with Nashville. There's value here. I mean, Marchessault and Stamkos. I guess we'll see if they're still together. That line hasn't worked from the start of the season with Novak in the middle. Again, we'll see what happens. Keep an eye on all that and morning skate and whatnot. But that is a very cheap line that's come down considerably in price and just frankly isn't quite that bad. I mean, Novak is, but I have a tentative interest here. I'm definitely going to be kind of looking through the game that they just played against Toronto pretty thoroughly before I make a final decision. But there's at least tentative interest. That is an unbelievably cheap second line with two of the elite goal scorers last year. And I understand that they were in different situations, but man, they are underperforming expected. They are shooting again, both of them pretty well. Marchessault did score against Toronto. At some point, they got to break a slate, right?
Do they?
No,
I don't know.
I mean, no is the answer. It just feels like if you would have told me we'd get this point in the year at Montreal, we're getting 4,200 Marchessault with 4,400 Steven Stamkos, and you're just not a good play. And I'm just.
Yeah, well, trust me, I would be sitting here saying, "Oh yeah, my best ball bags are absolutely loaded," and let me tell you, they are not loaded.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's inexplainable, really. At the end of the day, it just feels like there's no way this is what it is, but it is, and I am going to give it a good look. Check through the power play again, see if anything changed there. I don't know. I would like to see Marchessault because I believe he was back on the top power play. Just make sure that's the case.
I didn't update this.
Good catch. And give it a look. Probably throw Yossi in, but that is at least of interest to me. I'm not saying I'm playing it right now, but they are getting a lot of ice time. They are fine. It's a back-to-back, but it is Montreal at the end of the day. So I'm fine giving this spot a look.
Why can't this team score? I'm trying to fill out the power play too, and it's all right, Brady Shea, Luke Evangelista, Tommy Novak, Gus Nyquist. Okay, power play one's accounted for. Who's the 5th guy on this power play? And I'm looking at the options. Jankowski, Svechkov, Cole Smith, Colton Sissons, and Zach LaRue. Yeah, maybe I can figure it out their problem, why they're not scoring goals. Anyway, that just funny thing is as I'm looking, much more interesting to me is this Montreal side because like Nashville, we have very low prices. Unlike Nashville, we seemingly have good players who are not over the hill at these low prices. Of course, Cole Caulfield is the leader of any conversation about Montreal. He's been awesome. He's 6,800, which honestly feels a bit cheap for the way he's been playing. Nick Suzuki, his running mate, 5,600, perfectly fine there. Alex Newhook is their 5-on-5 line mate. He's been productive, not getting the results to show for it, but he's Alex Newhook, so like, are we really expecting that to change? You can certainly tack him on though, 2,600. Second line, Slavkovsky, Kirby Dach, and Patrick Laine. Laine scored in his season debut. He's playing on the power play one in Kirby Dach's spot. I believe did you see the goal? I want to say it was from that bumper position.
It was, like low left side.
Right. The Hockey Viz is broken for this game, so that's why I wasn't able to confirm that.
I watched it today. He did. He's sort of like low left side.
Was Caulfield in the bumper or Suzuki?
He was like
or Laine.
The thing is like it kind of felt like they moved. So like Caulfield was kind of on the point across, and they swapped with Lane Hudson, and then Lane Hudson fired it like it was give and go, and then he went like down low to the left, and Laine kind of slid over there. So I don't know where he started though. Yeah, I don't like everybody moved around, and they were moving the puck. So I don't know if he was there and moved. I don't remember. Like everyone had moved. It was a weird play. So I'll take a look tomorrow.
Puck movement's good. The people not knowing their roles, so I think is a much larger problem on the power play, which we've seen in Nashville for at least parts of this year. Their power play has been a bit better than their 5-on-5 goal scoring, but that's my main concern. That like adding Patrick Laine sort of takes away from Cole Caulfield's superpower of just being like the focal point for the offense. Because at some point you have the extra guy, like you get to set up whatever you want, and setting up Cole Caulfield for shots seems like a pretty good plan. So if Laine is in a position he's not comfortable in, or yada yada, I'm a little bit concerned about that. But anyway,
I believe Laine had 3 shot attempts all around the power play as well.
And the main appeal, 10.7K for that second line. Kirby Dach, I mean, I think he's a great play at 2,800 regardless of power play time. If I'm targeting this matchup in any way, which again, I think I will be, because at some point I just sort of trust this stuff, and it's not going to be super popular, but I also don't want it to be super popular. I think Laine, if he's not 20%, like, is pretty interesting. And we'll see though. We'll see sort of how ownership shakes out. So any final thoughts on this game? You noted it, but Lane Hudson was on the top unit over Matheson. So would expect that to stick until further notice.
Yeah. If you're playing Montreal, are you throwing Lane Hudson in? I mean, the shot attempts have come up a bit, 4 attempts per game over the last 5, which isn't fantastic, but at least he's starting to shoot the puck.
Yeah, you can. I don't believe there's any standout defense value on the slate. I want to say, Aaron Ekblad got priced up to 4,500, so it's a little bit more than the I think he was 39 last slate. Just Lane Hudson's fine, but I wouldn't play him unless I'm playing Caulfield, Suzuki, of course.
Game 3 at the 38.5-minute mark. We have Detroit at Ottawa in a game that I think will be at least somewhat popular. Not the highest total right now. It's a 6 -125. It was a 6.5 earlier. So I don't know. I guess people realize Detroit can't score. But -185 on the home Ottawa side. Lucas Raymond broke, or it was, he was, I don't know if he was completely a must-have piece, but probably pretty likely, or like up there with his 23 at 4,700. Pretty useful after a 22 point game. The game before, he scored in like 4 or 5 or 6 of his last 7. I mean, just there's been a lot of production, I guess, in a very short period of time for a player that's not really been priced accordingly, playing alongside Larkin and Michael Rasmussen on the top power play. So what are we thinking on Detroit?
I'm thinking it's pretty scary. If I'm playing, honestly, if I'm playing DeBrincat, I'm just playing Caulfield. Like, that's just sort of
Yep.
Like anything that I see here, it's like, oh, well, you can just get a better version of this in Montreal. Um, I'm not worried about ownership, of course, on Montreal. Maybe that's incorrect. Nashville in a back to back. Who knows what the projection systems will conjure up for us in this spot? But I don't see anything in Detroit that I'm like, I can get versions of that in Montreal that I just like better. Like Dylan Larkin. I mean, Nick Suzuki and Dylan Larkin feel like very perfect representations of one another as well. So like, yeah, I get Lucas Raymond. I think you could honestly one off him and be totally fine. But yeah, other than that, I'm not totally interested. The second line got really screwy last game with rotating in and out. Berggren, Kasper, Tarasenko, they're 8,100. They're all power play 2 correlated. They're all fine, but also you don't need to go there on this slate, I don't believe. So yeah, that's my general take on this.
Yeah. I do think this will at least get some level of steam with just how good Raymond's been at his price. The volume's been good for him and Larkin. Rasmussen makes it cheap, but doesn't really shoot. I just think it's like, it's gonna, I think, actually see some steam. So I agree with that take. On the other side,
Marco's pointing out that Mark Jankowski just scored after I said I wonder why they're not scoring a 5-on-5. People have been wondering. The Moods curse, the Moods pod curse, does not only apply to the next game slate. I am able to actively derail like real life games as they're ongoing during this recording. So I would just like that to be known for the record.
First of the season for Mark Jankowski. They're back, folks. Yeah, so Ottawa on the other side of the coin. As you kind of mentioned, your best ball bags. Brady Tkachuk is certainly putting it to you a little bit. He's been very, very good to start the year in all categories. Another 12 shot on goal game for Mr. Tkachuk. 2 goals, 2 blocks. I don't know how many, 1 hit, whatever. But like the guy has just been everything. You kind of needed him more. I still think, directional accuracy with Kirill Kaprizov over him, but we'll see how it pans out over the course of the entire season. But he's been on another level. Norris, Batherson, Tkachuk, that's what we're going with, right?
Mm-hmm.
All correlated on the power play. I do love it. I mean, I think it's in my consideration set. Like, I don't think people are going to pay up for Brady, and I think this line mates alongside of him make it just cheap enough that I can try. Nothing I'm going to have it, but it's more in consideration than Detroit for me. I like this Ottawa team a lot. Really not a whole lot else to say. It's like the problem with Brady was his ceiling didn't seem like it was high enough. And now we just know that, he can put up a 40 bomb because he continues to do it or get 35, 40, whatever. But he just put up a 40. Like we know he has it in him now because he will just keep shooting. Yeah, I'm not saying it again. I just think you have to have it in consideration.
Yeah, I mean, Brady Tkachuk on a single day, like, yeah, I don't think the argument ever was he can't have games where he scores 2 goals on 10 shots. It's just that he doesn't score enough. He doesn't get enough points to be a ceiling option for the full season. 28 points, though, in 24 games. Like, yeah, if he keeps that up and gets 95 points with his peripherals, yeah, he's going to be an absolute smash. So the power play does flow through him. He's just absolutely dominating everything when he's out there. So, it's not like you have other options to stack the power play without Brady, but at least worth considering there is that his role is just fundamentally different than years past. I mean, the thing to call out is Adam Gaudette being bumped out of the top 6 for, I guess, reasons. They lost to Anaheim, so get out of here. But he joins the top 6, has 4 goals in 4 games, and just gets sent back to the 4th line. I don't know. This team is just a tire fire. So good luck, Ridley Gregg, in the top 6. I think you're going to need it. I have no interest in Ottawa here. I'm not paying $20K for Norris, Batherson, Brady Tkachuk. So on to San Jose and Tampa. I mean, San Jose is San Jose. The main Tampa question is we have no idea Nikita Kucherov's status. I tend to lean toward him being out. He did not practice today on the power play and special teams practice. He did practice, though, in the 5-on-5 portion, which, I don't know. The weird thing about the power play was that without Kucherov, they just used Cirelli there, so it wasn't like they stand in of Cam Atkinson or whatever they used who would theoretically be on that top power play. They've been going 11-7, so like it would make sense if they just said, yeah, Kucherov's not playing tomorrow. It's San Jose. Take the day off. Heal up. So I'm going with that for right now. Obviously, what that means, we're going to get a healthy dose of Cirelli Hagel. We're going to get a bunch of Point Gensel. Are we going to get a bunch of Nick Paul or Gage Consalves or Cam Atkinson? Definitely not. So we kind of know where the minutes are going to concentrate with this 11-7 setup. But yeah, any thoughts on Tampa before we circle back to San Jose?
I mean, I think the Hagel Cirelli thing will get a pretty good bit of steam, and I think I just would go the other way if I'm going to play this game. And I get that it won't feel as good to pay thousands more for Gensel and Point over Hagel Cirelli, and probably pair them with Hedman if you can. But just the ownership, I think, will be stark enough that I'll make that distinction, because I really don't think there's any reason to believe that the output is going to, absolutely unequivocally flow through Hagel and Cirelli. So I like the idea of going the other way against the grain if I'm going to play it, but that's just me.
Yeah. It's also worth noting, Tampa, Nick Paul, we're expecting to play, but he has not played in a while due to injury. Jake Gensel got banged up. He was, I believe, confirmed to be playing. He basically was like, yeah, he's fine. And then Mitchell Chafee is also not expected to play. So, like, this team is already not deep to begin with. Even if Kucherov plays, they're still missing. Or they're still dealing with lots of injuries up and down the lineup. So you mentioned the other side, the San Jose side. Celebrini has simply been incredible. The main problem with his line is that right now it doesn't look like the 5-on-4 units will include Eklund. However, Eklund scored the OT winner in a 4-on-3 situation. So I'm wondering if Eklund is just going to straight up replace Tyler Toffoli going forward, or if Tyler Toffoli is just, for whatever reason, they're 5-on-4 power play one, but Eklund just replaces him in 4-on-3. I don't know, whatever. So that's something to keep an eye on at the very least. But Celebrini's been awesome. His line mates have been along for the ride with him. It seems like Wenberg and Granlund are just going to sort of take the middle six roles and just sort of toil away there. So that's top line should carry the load for them at 5-on-5. Whether that means, congratulations, here's the Cirelli Hagel matchup for you to chew on. I'm a little bit worried about that, sure. But the line itself will cost you 13.5K, and it's certainly clicking on all cylinders right now. So
Yeah.
I have no interest, or I have no problem with going to San Jose if because again, there's a lot of good D men on this slate. I think you can just spend up on D and play 2 good stacks and feel pretty good about your team. So San Jose makes the cut for me there for sure.
Yeah, but not Timothy Liljegren, correct? He's been productive enough where I think it's a mention, but you're not going there?
I would not. I'm actually not sure. He and Wallman have been flipping on and off, and honestly, the power play one, I wasn't sure what it would be last game because
last game seemed pretty messy because
looks
Eklund scored on the first power play, but wasn't
it was
always out there. So
it was
but it was
overtime.
Wallman.
It was overtime.
Oh, okay, yeah, but yeah, Wallman was on the first power play last game.
Yeah, so these two flipped again. Yeah, Jake Wallman, he's fine. He's been really good. He's been doing everything you want from a defenseman: shooting, blocking, picking up points. So yeah, I'm good with Jake Wallman, but certainly not a must play if you're playing Celebrini.
Okay, we move over to the other Florida team, the Florida Panthers, going to Philadelphia. Matt Tkachuk puts up a 43 bomb, 4 points, 7 shots against Pittsburgh. Now he goes to Philly. I mean, how do you play that? And it's just one of those things again where it's like Ekblad gets there, right? And on chalk Ekblad night, never thought we'd see the day, but 5 shots and an assist. He gets priced up almost a full 1,000. So maybe he's not quite as chalky. Like, let's just say you are going to play Florida. It feels very clunky to put them together successfully. How would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, we're expecting, we don't know this, but at the end of the Pittsburgh game, they were getting, they were getting goalied, and then they decided to put their good players together and they tied the game. So I'm expecting them to roll for Hagee, Barkov, Reinhart like they finished last game. That would all be power play correlated. If you're looking to spend 22K on a line, I think that's certainly a spot you could look to. Kachuk and Bennett with Jesper Boqvist. Boqvist doesn't really do it for me. And then Luosterainen, Lindell, Rodriguez. That line's going to cost you, gosh, yeah, less than 10K for, again, just a line that we know is good at the NHL level. So, like, I'm totally fine with that in a matchup with Philly. Aaron Ekblad's been good, though. He certainly deserves a $4,500 price tag so long as he's on that top power play. He's going to fire some shots from the point. Like, he's going to threaten both bonuses. He can get you assists. He can score goals. Yeah, he's not a great player, but he's a pretty good fantasy asset per minute, and he's getting all the minutes he can handle right now. So, for whatever that's worth, Adam Boqvist lingers, ready to steal his power play one job at the first sign of weakness. But again, it's Philly. Are they going to struggle too much against Philly? I'm not sure. So, check these lines though, because they could go right back to Barkov, Reinhart, Rodriguez, and Verhaeghe, Kachuk, Bennett. And I think that would have some interest in the second line if that were the case.
Yeah, no, I it's a little bit in flux. I agree. I'd rather just take the correlation of the top line if I'm going to do it. It's a fine stack. It's it's out there for me, but it might be a bit too expensive for me at the end of the day comparatively to others. The Philly side.
For Philly, we simply don't know what their lines are. There was mention on Twitter of Torts saying after practice that he, quote, made some line changes to make Matt Bay's life easier. I don't know whether that means he's putting Michkov back with Konechny, Couturier, for example. That's sort of what I'm taking it to mean, which of course would be very interesting given
you just wait. He's gonna put him with like Ryan Pooling and freaking Scott Lawton and be like, I just wanted him to have his life be easier. Like,
yeah.
By putting tough guys with him. Like, it's gonna be way stupider, trust me.
No, you're not wrong. That is for sure what's gonna happen. But so I'm not expecting Frost, Michkov, Tippett to be a line. If it is though, 12.3K, I'm totally here for it. I game stacked Florida Pittsburgh lastly and lived to tell the tale. I had a pretty good Tuesday night. So
brag about it.
I would certainly not be wary of going back to that well. Florida, again, without Bobrovsky, they're rolling out Spencer Knight and Chris Streeter. The field didn't get there, believe it or not, on Pittsburgh, so I'm guessing they won't get there on Philly either. And we know exactly where the offense is coming from if the Flyers do hit.
Right. I do agree with that. I am pretty tentatively interested here. We don't know what the lines are, but there's the only expensive players are Konechny and Sanheim. I don't think you have to click on Travis Sanheim at his price. There's better defensive options out there. For just to give you more than him. I know he can hit a blocks bonus. He's hit a shot bonus in his career and whatnot, but this season even. But like the floor doesn't quite seem to meet what he's his ceiling. I mean, doesn't quite reach the price tag. Konechny is a great play, but like like you just don't need to. Like, it's not going to be expensive no matter what. So I'm going to be looking at it for sure. And if we don't get it to warmups, it may be even better because even less people will play Philly and have it correct. So in on it for sure.
All right. Colorado, Carolina. What do we have? What is the line saying to us here from our friends at the sports books?
Yeah, we keep forgetting to do that. This is actually, I believe, the highest total. No, it's second highest total on the slate. 6.5 over under. Carolina minus 155. Who will be in net? I guess I gotta assume it'll be Wedgwood, which I know he looked good against Buffalo, but this guy was very, very bad in Nashville. Nashville not helping him out at nearly as much as I think Colorado could. So I'm not going to completely take that with everything. We are expecting as well Porter Kochetkov to be in net. He played on the third. I think he was slated to be. It doesn't really matter that much who the heck starts, but it's probably going to be him. Those are two goalies that exist. I don't think it's a goalie situation for me, at least. Maybe the sports books think that. I guess there's some firepower here. I don't know. I just don't think I'm paying this price tag on a team against Carolina on the road, and that would be McKinnons and Rantanens and Lekkonens and McCars of the world. I do think it's interesting that the total's so high. It would imply a decent team total. There's a very good concentration of where the offense would come from.
Dating back to November 21st, the Carolina Hurricanes have given up 4 goals to the Devils, 5 goals to Columbus, 4 goals to Dallas, 3 goals to the Rangers, 6 goals to the Panthers, 6 goals to the Panthers, 4 goals to Seattle. Does that worry you at all? Or like we're going on, what, 8 games now of absolutely lackluster defense?
It's worrisome. Yeah, again, oh my God, it's probably just all in my head that like I just can't click on Colorado at these prices against Carolina. You probably could. I still just how do you play it? I guess if you're gonna play Colorado and you're gonna spend all your cap, you might as well play them on a night that they're gonna be much less owned. I don't know. The matchup's good comparatively to playing Carolina.
Yeah, I'll say.
I don't know. Are you making the argument that you're going to be clicking on the Avalanche?
I certainly am not making the argument against it. That's for damn sure. Kel McCarr, I mean, best one-off on any slate, I think, at defense. He can take over the position in a way that nobody can, not even McKinnon, because there's so many centers that have like nuclear ceilings every night. Kel McCarr is a singular force on defense, so I really like that idea. Am I gonna play Rantanen if he's with McKinnon and not just play the 3 or whatever? Probably not. But you can play Cam McCarr with a Lekkonen or Nichushkin, and yeah, you can say, okay, I can survive McKinnon getting 30 in that instance. If McCarr gets 35 and Lekkonen gets 20, like I'm perfectly happy. So, yeah, I'm also I'm like you, not worried about ownership here for sure.
No.
So I think that makes sense just to sort of load up on some Colorado pieces because 5,200 and 5,400 for Nichushkin and Lekkonen is far too low, regardless of who they're playing with, given the sort of players we know that these two are.
Yeah, I feel like it's like I don't have a problem with it. I don't know how I'm building the right lineup with it. So I'm gonna have to toy around with the idea a bit more. It's a better play than meets the eye. And definitely should probably get more ownership than it will because people just will never click on any team playing against Carolina. And as you mentioned, like the output has just been there for teams against them. So, and Carolina's continued to shuffle lines and lose to Seattle. Like you said, I didn't think any team could possibly lose to Seattle at home. Seattle, kept them to 2 expected goals. They outplayed them. I mean, just frankly outplayed them. And
it was even worse. It was worse than it looks. Through 2 periods, Carolina had 7 shots on goal. 7. Yeah. Carolina. Crazy.
I mean, the Benier Schwartz Gord line just ate. I don't know what it. And again, like it's almost as if they kind of stumbled into something that might be useful. And done with Larson, that top pairing was clearly very good. It was one of those things that we talked about where it's like, I don't think I'm clicking on Carolina because like the problem in Seattle was just very clearly they're missing Vince Dunn. And now that he's back, they're better. They're not perfect, but like they're a tough team to play against. On the other side of the coin here, I really do think Colorado is a much, much, much better team than the results have indicated on the season so far. And their goaltending being the biggest reason why it's been an issue. But even with the goaltending being what it is, like they are fully healthy. And this is, again, one of the top 5 teams in the league. I just think Carolina feels much more unnecessary. The prices are high. They're near the highest they've been all season for many of these guys. I'm just not clicking the buttons here on Carolina at home against Colorado. It would be entirely like, I'm less likely to click on them even if Georgiev's in net, who I know has been an absolute dumpster fire. Like the Sabres' only chance of being in that game was Georgiev playing one of the worst first periods I've ever watched a goalie play. Even with that, I think if he's in net, more people might click on Carolina. I'd almost have more interest if it was Wedgwood, because no, I don't think many people are going to click on him, click on Carolina regardless. But
Yeah.
I think it's probably a bad play. So
Goalies don't matter. All
they
right.
don't.
Ben in the chat it says, don't know if you remember Wilkie pulling in data on which teams limit D the best. Canes were one of the main teams that limited shots to opposing D-men. Of course, he's referring to NHL Wilkie on Twitter, in our Discord. Sonk.ca if you want to get the Wookiee sheets. It's certainly worth the minor investment you'll make there. But he did share this a couple days ago, or honestly, it was like a week and a half ago, I guess, at this point. But fortunately, I think for us, if we're playing Cale Makar, we don't care how many shots on goal he gets, because he could get 20 shots on goal. Actually, I guess 20 would be a pretty good DK
20
score.
would probably get
but
you there.
if he gets even 7 shots on goal, he's getting us 14. Like, that's not enough for 8,500. So it's all about the point production, I think, for Kale. And of course, he's a singular talent nonetheless, like regardless of the analysis we're doing. But like, I think that matters more for, your run of the mill power play guys in the 4 or 5K range, where a shot bonus plus a couple blocks actually do mean they're paying off their tag regardless of what point output they have. But simply put, if you're spending 8,500 on a Cale Makar and he doesn't get a point, you're not likely to be competing for anything in DFS. So I wouldn't really worry about that. It's mostly just a bet on talent and seeking upside type of play. But good to know. Even on a relative basis, Carolina is filtering shots away from point men. All right, a couple more games here. Seattle and the Islanders.
Yep. This is our lowest total. Islanders minus 130 favorites. I mean, my summary of this game is I'm absolutely not clicking on it. A lot of value. I just don't think I'm going there. But I'll let you talk.
No further comment here. Just some noteworthy things. Vince Dunn, 5,200 on the power play 1 over Brandon Montour. Now, Seattle's going to split their power plays in most cases. But McCann, Stevenson, Beniers, Bjorkstrand, and Dunn was their power play 1. Schwartz, Tolvanen, Wright, and Montour was their power play 2. I believe Alexiak got shifts there because they were leading, or maybe I just did not update that. But was it Yanni Gord? It was probably Yanni Gord on the power play 2. Who the hell knows? Who the hell cares?
It was Gord. Schwartz, Tolvanen, Gord, Wright, Montour.
Okay, I do not think you're playing Seattle here, but I would say Vince Dunn is my favorite play of the bunch. We know he's a very good hockey player. He was incredible last year from a rates perspective. Brandon Montour being here certainly will pull away some of the offensive, posture from his game. But you mentioned it, him and Adam Larson are one of the better pairs in the NHL. So Vince Dunn feels a little bit discounted if he's going to truly get power play 1. And even on the Islanders side, I don't think there's much in this game to take a hard look at. The prices are up. The Islanders too, still 13.5K, but Siplikov is not on the top unit anymore. So Brock Nelson at 55, Palmieri at 5. It just doesn't feel like great prices for them. No one here stands out to me from you got to play him standpoint.
No. The prices are, I think, correct more or less as well. There's no need to click on this. I think people will still click on the Islanders. It will not be me for the 9 million slate in a row. No interest here. I think Seattle, again, like I said, that their problems are largely fixed. Vince Dunn is truly, I think, a needle pusher. It's a one slate sample here we're going to work on. Obviously, it's always in DFS, and anything can happen, but not where I'm spending my cap, especially with another 2 games that I really like.
It's exactly what we were saying. Seattle just needed Chandler Stevenson back in the lineup, and then they could be good defensively. I think that's exactly what we were, saying. Yes, Troy.
Really, when you get Chandler
finally,
everyone's
CBJ time.
Segment.
The team that got shut out by the Calgary Flames. Like
1.6 expected goals.
We just gotta talk about these guys.
It is always funny, but like you pull up a Columbus sheet and they get bullied, and the only player that was good was Werenski. Like everyone else pretty much stunk. Zach Werenski had like 100 shot attempts and was the only player that, and like that's just, I think he's that kind of guy. I really do think he's that good. I will say, if we're going to start here, I will once again just say, Dante Fabro is playing a bazillion minutes. The price has gone up enough to where it's not a fun play. I think you could still do it though. Like, this guy is just a blocks bonus waiting to happen, especially against Edmonton. So I'm not going to say I'm playing it, but like, I think you could do worse 3,400. I do agree that this slate does set up nicely for top defensive plays. But if you can't afford them for some reason, I do think he's of note. Zach Werenski.
I'm not looking. Wouldn't you just rather play Provorov in that case? Okay, 13 over the last 10 for Provorov and 23 for Fabro. Okay, I guess not.
I mean, the Provorov cases, he is always out there on the penalty kill. I guess Severson to some extent as well, but Severson's a bit pricier.
Yeah,
I don't know. You could convince me.
I was just thinking about
it.
Yeah. I figured I might as well do it live. If anyone else had that same thought, because 3,300 for Provorov, 34 for Fabro. Like, I don't think we're suggesting either, but just thinking through your line of thinking there.
What was the ownership like on Tuesday for Columbus? Were they owned at all?
Pretty much non-existent. Calgary was the chalk. Like, it was 20. I think Kadri was 30%. And like the Sharon Govich was like 20. So yeah, it was Calgary that just got all the ownership from that game, which makes sense. I mean, the Columbus thing we mentioned last show was truly a just once in a lifetime phenomenon where they were 50% owned on that 10 or 14 game slate against Montreal on a back-to-back. Anyway, we know what the deal of Columbus is. Edmonton's very good. I don't think we're too interested here.
No, I mean, the biggest, it's fancy play syndrome with a side effect of it's actually expensive to play the good pieces here. And it's just like, how do you not click on Werenski if you're playing Columbus? And you just can't find a way to make that work. It's a success on this slate. So Columbus has been great. I do hope I would love to see them make the playoffs. I think that would be the coolest thing in the world. I'm not playing them in daily fantasy on Thursday, December 5th. Sorry to our Columbus fans. Beautiful arena there. I hope to get to a game out there soon. I did go when we were in Columbus, Matt, remember, for our friend's wedding, and I went to the arena to see it, but they weren't playing. So, I'm happy for them.
Oh, you weren't in town.
Really
That's right, because we went to a game.
Yeah, I did make it. That I kind of don't remember why I didn't make it. We had to drive. It doesn't matter. We're gonna get to the whole story that I don't even remember. It was a few years ago. The skinny is, again, I think that there's at least I throw Fabro in the mix, but I think there's a couple of cheap defensemen here that should see, blocks bonus upside. I like Fabro from, playing with Werenski and others a bit more to maybe get that assist as well. And then you're kind of sitting there with, 14, 15 points from a punt defenseman. You're not mad about it. So no problem. We can get over to the more interesting side. Again, this is the highest total game on the slate, 6.5 minus 125 on the over. Edmonton, monster favorites. Can't imagine they will be overlooked coming off a 0-goal output where they put up decent, expecteds, but, when you don't score, sometimes that just ends up being the nature of the beast.
Yeah. There were just 0 penalties in that entire
game. In the entire game, either side. I know. I bet Bouchard for a point. And I was just like, man, like 27 minutes. What happened? Oh, no power play. I was pretty distraught. I was pretty mad.
You've never gotten that over a bet before. It's crazy.
It was right after the Sabres ripped my heart out too and stepped on it. So yeah, McDavid played 25 minutes. Bouchard played 27 minutes in that game against Vegas. Draisaitl saw time with McDavid, of course. Shockingly enough, Podkolzin and Connor Brown didn't play quite as much as Draisaitl. I do think, like, again, if you're playing Edmonton and you think of like the way they get there, I don't think anyone's off the table to stack. Like, I do think I'm going to just go all in and say that, like, if I'm playing McDavid, I'm playing Nugent Hopkins. Like, I'm not playing Nugent Hopkins without McDavid, but 4,100 just feels like we've gone too far. There's a line that must be drawn in the sand at some point, and the guy that's clearly the third forward over the boards and playing pretty much exclusively when McDavid's on the ice, not entirely, but in a good clip with Draisaitl as well. I think you just go all four. Like Nugent Hopkins gets you there over the line. Draisaitl, McDavid, Bouchard, and Nugent Hopkins are actually, you could do it. And I think if you're doing it, you're doing it. No half measures when it comes to, McDavid going for 5 points on a slate where he's going to be the most owned player. You just got to go all the way and say he gets that, and that get unique by going overboard with it.
We'll also need to see what lines actually look like, because he could just wind up starting with Draisaitl, and all of that could be for naught, and it's just McDry plus Podkolzin or Kapanen or whatever, and just sort of donkeys go wild. So
God, the donkeys! I can hear the hee-hawing from here.
Yeah. Anyway, not an overly exciting game, but certainly one that will have a lot of ownership from DFS standpoint. Final game. St. Louis heading into Calgary. Dealt the newish lines. Neighbors, Thomas, Saad, Holloway, Shen, Kyrou, Bolduc, Sundqvist, Joseph, Toropchenko, Fox, Walker. They torched Winnipeg. We sort of talked about this last show. I think that's more Winnipeg than it is St. Louis. Just Winnipeg with their injury situation and sort of how their D pairs trend after losing Dylan Sandberg. Certainly set up for a good spot for St. Louis. However, Calgary's been a matchup that I've been sitting here telling you to target all year long, and well, you're pretty poor if you've only been doing that. But certainly not imposing, I guess I'll say. And the prices do continue to align with with that, plus the idea that Jim Montgomery just might be the best coach in NHL history. St. Louis is absolutely rolling since they hired him. Could be a fluke, could not be. But Jordan Kyrou playing very well. 6.4K, averaging almost over 11 and a half expected fantasy points per game and about 10 per game. That per game mark actuals is right in line with Dylan Holloway, with Robert Thomas. Even Jake Neighbors has turned a corner, it seems. So these prices all look pretty appealing to me. DJ, what are your thoughts on St. Louis?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those games where it's a 5.5, basically a coin flip. Flames are slight favorites, and I kind of like both sides. I don't think it's going to be all that popular, especially the top line, just because Holloway and Kyrou kind of just went crazy. I wonder if people take a look at that and maybe draw a larger conclusion. But I am interested in both. Maybe neither get that much ownership, just because St. Louis hasn't been that popular of a play in totality. You look at that game, and both lines were great. It wasn't like Jake Neighbors had almost a whole expected goal on his own in that game. Didn't get there, of course, but he's been very good alongside Robert Thomas as well. Yeah, I just see no reason not to go to Kyrou, Holloway, Neighbors, and Robert Thomas. How do you want to do it, right? And Shen. I mean, I didn't even say Braden Shen, but Braden Shen, absolutely throw him in the mix too. He's been awesome. This top six is actually very good. So no issue, no red flags. Yeah, you're highlighting Broberg back from injury, 24 minutes.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why he doesn't have. But then I remembered he wasn't in the NHL for the large part of last year, so he probably didn't, because he was only here for the playoffs pretty much. So he probably just literally doesn't have enough ice time to show up here. But the important thing about St. Louis is one, they're cheap. And we're sort of pointing out, they don't even have to be good to be in play at these levels of salary. I mean, the first line, as it stands, is going to cost you 11, and the second line is going to cost you 13. That is ridiculously cheap for lines with 2 power play 1 guys on a team that we kind of like. So if you kind of like them, they're very much in play. They're also going to be without Justin Falk, it seems. I'm not sure what the update there is, but he missed last game. So keep an eye out for that, because with him out, Colton Parayko assumed power play 1, and then that would leave Broberg to be power play 2. I believe Suter got shifts because they were beating the breaks off of Winnipeg, and they just wanted to make sure they got that plane home, because teams can go up several goals and not just immediately blow it. Apparently, I hear. I'm not sure. I'll need to confirm that myself. But I think that's why Ryan Suter got power play 2 time. But even if he is on power play 2, all the better for Phil Broberg to take shots and whatnot from the point at just 3,200. So a lot of options here, a lot of cheapness. I feel like people will go back to the Calgary well though, which I have no interest in personally. Now you don't. No one's surprised to hear me say that. But again, St. Louis has been playing very well since their coach got since Montgomery came in. Um, I I just think that St. Louis is not a team I want to target, to be honest. And so when I see ownership last slate with Columbus coming into town, I can't imagine it's that much different with McDavid in an awesome spot. These prices pretty low, and St. Louis coming into town. So Coronado, come on down, 20% owned. Kadri, come on down, 20% owned. Do you have any interest in these guys? Are you going to try and talk me into it?
I want to. I mean, again, like I do think that this game is probably better than meets the eye. Like the Flames. I guess my inkling is that under Montgomery, the Blues are going to be more up tempo, and that's kind of been the case so far. The question is, are the Flames going to push the tempo themselves? It might rely on them getting down in the game. They seem to kind of have it a little bit in the power plays where they kind of got all their, a lot of their production against Columbus. Tough to rely on that. I just kind of like the idea of the game stack here a little bit. It's really cheap. It's easier to, I think, fall in love with the St. Louis side of the equation in that than it is to find the perfect sort of play on Calgary, because I mean, it just feels like one of these defensemen is just always getting there, and the prices are bad. I don't know how I would do it. I struggle a lot. I think it's just you play Kadri, and like part of me just wants to say Huberdeau, and then play like a 2 or 3 men on the other side here, and that might be a way that I look to attack this slate, because I really think that's going to be just like completely not done because of the total. And if the total's wrong and this ends up being an 8-goal game, it's so cheap that it just might be enough to get you into an amazing spot with one more really good stack that entices me, because I do think this game might be better than meets the eye, and might end up being closer to a 6 by puck drop.
All right, that is our take on each of the 9 games. Do you want to get to top stacks guarantee goals?
Yeah, let's do top stacks guarantee goals. Get out of here. You have one to start? I don't know if you have one to start.
I will lead it off with Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and I don't know. Let's go Slavkovsky for the third guy in power play 1 stack. Line A's fine, Hudson's fine, but give me Slavkovsky 3,400, even cheaper than those guys, and I think we could see a big second half from Slavkovsky if Patrick Laine is actually back.
Okay, don't hate that at all. I think, what was the one team I was kind of in love with here? I feel like I partially liked so many teams, but I'm not sure if there's one team that I was like to the moon and back on. I think I'll stick my neck out for playing Edmonton for now, and I might reserve that to come back on. And of course, that's super chalky, but I would play all 4 if I'm playing it. If it ends up being,
stick my neck out.
Edmonton. I'm gonna take the chalkiest chalk stack.
You
ever.
Brave boy.
I am being brave. McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Bouchard. I'm gonna take the. Wow. I'm just gonna take the chalk right off the board, I suppose.
Awesome.
You know what's funny though, Matt, is what I'm doing right now is I'm mentally preparing myself to tomorrow listen to this and then remind myself of, oh, I am actually the chalk master. Don't play either of the stacks I said, because I'm guaranteeing tomorrow that's going to be uber chalk. Well, and I was going to say St. Louis with it, and I bet that's going to be the absolute donkey chalk of the night.
The problem is that you can't be aware of it, or else it collapses in upon itself,
Yeah.
So we'll need to somehow figure out how to sort of Here's a word for you. We'll need to figure out how to get you some amnesia to suffer so that you are sort of able to give us what we need from a donkey chalk perspective going
the
forward.
donkey chalk is going to be Edmonton. Is it going to be St. Louis and
Yeah.
Edmonton? Is it going to be Calgary and
No.
Edmonton? Is it going to be?
I think it'll be Calgary again.
Yeah, me too. I think it'd be Calgary.
Did you say Calgary was a favorite in that game?
Yep.
Yeah.
Minus 130 at home.
Yeah.
I do think that's your donkey chalk of the night, 100% on a 9-game slate. How can I play Edmonton differently? And again, if it's Draisaitl with McDavid, I'm just not probably going to click on it because they're going to play together regardless. That's just going to force the ownership up even higher than it already is going to be. So, yeah.
For my second stack, I will go with Tage Thompson, Jason Zucker, and Bo Byram. Of course, that's assuming Dahlin misses this game. I think Tage is one of the elite options on the slate. He's sub 8K. Again, we talked about Winnipeg, their struggles. We also talked at the beginning of the show how I don't really see Buffalo's loss to Colorado as anything sort of franchise defining. I do feel like, it permeates the industry. It permeates people who care about hockey, and maybe that even lowers Buffalo's ownership from that perspective. You look at the index, the expected goals index, and the way that these teams are trending has Buffalo as the third best matchup on the slate. So everything suits up for Tage, Zucker, 5-on-5, again, assuming they stick together, 5-on-5 power play correlated. And if Dahlin misses, Bo Byram steps into a top power play that we know he can be an involved piece, part of. We know the sort of player archetype that Byram is. So it gives you some value, it gives you some ceiling, and it gives you a matchup you love to target, I think, at low ownership. So there's my GPP winner for you at Buffalo.
I like that. Since I said Edmonton, and then I just went over some donkey chalk. If I'm playing Edmonton as well, I'm going to get unique. How exactly will I make this fit? It might be dependent, but let's just go with the assumption that it is Frost, Tippett, and Mitchkov. I think I could probably make that work. If that's not the case, I'll just say for now Flyers. Like that might be a pivot away from a lot of chalk that I actually think is pretty solid. So I'll go with that. I don't think Buffalo's the wrong call either. I think that might be another way of getting different from the chalk. And again, if I think Edmonton's going to be way overowned, I might even pivot to Colorado. Like those are sort of like some of the building blocks I'm looking at, or Ottawa. Like that's kind of where I'm at, but would like to see exactly a little bit more information tomorrow. But those are, again, the slate recap that everyone knows and loves. There it is for you. Igor scored for me on my guaranteed goals.
Yeah. Wait, was that last night?
Well, but recording on Wednesday, that was Tuesday night. He scored.
Right.
Netter. Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot you got bailed out twice in 2 days on garbage empty netters. That is insane. And then you go, oh, I'm so unlucky. Oh my God. Shut up.
You have to put out some negative energy into the world to get. The thing is, you have to play the reverse jinx just right. You can't talk about it. And after it happens, you can talk about it. Like Matthews scored, right? You have to be careful. You have to be. That's all I'm going to say. And I had to cry for a minute before we got started to try to help Austin Matthews. And he listened and he scored twice. So
unbelievable.
Okay. Speaking of which, on our guaranteed goals, as we just mentioned, Zucker did not score for you. Nachos did score. Sharangovich scored. Celebrini did not. 2 for 4. I did do a round robin, so I probably lost money. But regardless, can't complain too much. Celebrini and Zucker didn't get there. I hope that gave you and your cat enough time to consider your guaranteed goal. But if not, I can vamp for one more second, or I can maybe just pick one myself.
Yeah, no, we've been consulting Arturi Lehkonen, 5,400 guaranteed goal.
The moods, I like that. Lehkonen, a staple of the Morning Skate podcast, certainly. I'm going to go Jake Neighbors. I did mention him a little bit. I hope we're not getting into the same salary range. I doubt it. He's been dynamite. I mean, I just feel like it's one of those things where the rates aren't unbelievable, like 4.8 shot attempts per game, but like a 0.67 in the last 5 expected goals per game individually. And that's just the Robert Thomas of it all. But if his numbers continue to climb a little bit from the shooting perspective, I really do like him to find some more goals. Remember what he was last year, and the price on him is not really reflected. Nearly 30 goals. What was he? Like 28 goals last year or something. It looks like you're crying right now on my screen, Matt. I'm sorry if this offends you.
Yeah, no, allergies are taking a toll on me. Yeah, no, if I'm just gonna move on.
What were you? No, say it. I want to know.
I was gonna say you just don't seem to think when you speak, because you said, I hope we're not going into the same salary range with Arturi Lehkonen and Jake Neighbors. And like, if those
I
two were the
honestly,
same salary, I think the
no,
podcast would have led off with, hey, Arturi Lehkonen's $3K, jam
I
him.
no. I was thinking from I thought Neighbors was like 440 or 4,500, 832. I thought we were like, you had Lehkonen and now you were going to need a guy at my range. That's really what I was thinking mentally, and actually not even close. Neighbors is 3,200. That was shocking. I thought I just looked at his number like 2 minutes ago too, and I'm just worlds apart. Yeah, we're good. We are very good.
I will take for my second. I will take Lucas Raymond. Detroit heading into Ottawa, 4,700. We talked about him in that Detroit discussion we did, but yeah, good player, good spot. No problem with Lucas Raymond.
I'm just going to go Braden Point against San Jose. I'm not going to overthink it. Whether Kucherov's in or not, Braden Point's been shooting again. He's hit over 2.5 shots on goal in his last 5 games, and he has 5 goals in that span as well. Like, I do think for everything we might want to say about Braden Point, he is a prolific goal scorer, and in a great matchup against the San Jose Sharks and the CC Wallman pairing probably. So
anytime you
problem.
can bet on a guy shooting 36%, you just got to do it.
What is Raymond's shooting percentage right now? I want you to look over the last 10 games. It's got to be like 40%.
Over the last 10 games. I don't like what?
Nope. You know what? Let's look. Last 5 games, who is leading?
He is shooting 27% over the last 10 games. He is shooting 16% over the season.
Yeah. You're stupid. I'm right.
That is less than half of Braden Point's shooting percentage.
Okay, well, Braden Point's double as good.
Okay, John Cooper.
Also, where do you get your ideas? Look over my shoulder.
That's awesome.
Okay. Okay, we could get out of here though. Honestly, hour and a half. I'm not that mad. We had a lot of good, a lot of comments. A lot of people seem to like the frozen face-off talk. What were you gonna say?
I also marked where we started talking about the slate, so I'll be able to include that in the footnotes. So,
Way to be a good host.
Not a problem. I think to spend 50 something minutes on this not quite a disaster of a slate, but certainly a little bit trashy of a slate. I think not a lot of marquee matchups here. So let's actually get into the rest of our Wednesday evenings, and of course the rest of our Thursdays as you're listening to this. So we're gonna get on out of here. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJ_Mitchell94. The podcast is at Morningscape Pod. I have a newsletter, moods.beehive.com. I don't think I'll write anything up for the Friday slate here for personal reasons, but maybe we'll see. But if not, we'll certainly be back on the horse probably early next week. Just get something out there on the newsletter. And DJ has a dub club that you can get his winning bets, like Austin Matthews to score a goal. Those are good bets when you get them at plus money. So be sure to sign up for that in the link in the description.
Yeah, don't think anything else is going to get there, but I will take my money and I will move on. Still going to be profitable on the night on the goal boost. Take our wins when we can get them. Bigger slate always. On Thursday. We will take a look. And as always, thanks for being a part of it. Follow, like, subscribe, comment, write nice things online about us. If anyone did do their Spotify Wrapped or something and we were in it, tweet that out. Would love to retweet.
Yeah. I don't know how to look at it from a podcaster's perspective, but I think you can. So I'll see.
Right.
I'll see what our podcast or whatever is for Wrapped. I think I did it last year. Anyway, that'll do it from us. Thank you all for tuning in. From Doug, from DJ, from myself, have a great Thursday slate, everybody, and we will see you.